Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mind Your Buffalo podcast. This is your host Ravikant, aka the Buffalo Intellectual. Welcome to the first show of the new year. Cheers to you all. 2025 is here. Is the first show of the year. I always struggle during this time of the year because I've said about this previously. I live alone. Not very close to my family. That's a nice way of saying I'm estranged with them. Like yeah, I mean we have a very weird equation. We don't really speak much. And not never been married. Don't have kids. Thank God. Um, uh, and if you are like a person like me who is single, doesn't have a lot of friends, lives alone with his cat, and is working a job like being a professor, then there's not a lot of going on in your life. So, New Year's and usually Diwali, but New Year's is a time when most people kind of like go either back to their families or whichever city they're working in. All the friends get together and all the people get together and they have New Year plans and stuff. People go out on holidays and stuff like that. And I don't have any of those. So it's always been historically a difficult time of the year for me. So I usually like kind of like borrow myself and like claw my way out. And it's also a time like, where it allows you to be a little reflective of the year gone by. So which is why I don't like these wrap up things. I don't like this wrap up things. I'm always very eager at this time of the year to figure what the coming year will be like and hopefully what it should be like. Okay. And God, the coming year, I hope it brings a lot more sense because this society really needs it. It's also a time of resolution, it's also a time of reinvention. And if India ever needed a resolution or a reinvention, this is the time. I hope 2025 is the year where India sort of like takes a moment, takes pause, and kind of looks back on itself. And when I say India, I don't mean like the 1.4 billion people, because like a vast majority of the people don't have a say in how these things go. It's usually these elites, almost always Savarna urban people in India and the expats NRIs abroad, uh, like this very thin layer of people, very small percentage, who have like been these interlocutors for India, who have themselves said that we understand India and we get it. And I think this section really needs to kind of look back on itself this year and just sort of like have an understanding of how badly they fucked things up, right? Because this is one thing that this section, if we have to call them India, right? Like because see, India is a very big word. I'll just take a moment to operationalize this. India is a very big word. 1.4 billion people, all these languages, cultures, regions, castes, income bracket, and everything. It's very big. So, which is why when you say, as India, we need to do this, I don't know what exactly that means. But what I mean is, like this section, which is hyper visible in media, in discourse, in academia, civil society, in industry, corporate tech, everywhere, like which takes on the role for itself as India. Like they speak for everybody and they have spoken for everybody for a very long time. Like this is the same group of people, like in previous shows I've talked about it. This is the same group of people who in the early 2000s were saying India is an elephant and China is a dragon, and the 21st century will be the century of the dragon and the elephant, and like the axis of power will shift from US, North America, and Europe and shift towards Asia. And of course, that change will be driven by the Chinese, but also by the Indians who are like beginning to come on it in their own, and India will become a superpower. We're a generation like this generation had like some great like insecurity and inferiority complex, which they have spent like 2 decades, 2.5 decades, sort of like playing out at the big stage, and it's not going well. It's not going well. It has not gone well. A regular theme, like for the show, people who listen to this show, like they understand that like I constantly am talking about it, about how bad things are getting, and sorry for the audience who's listening to it on the audio. Like they must be wondering, like, what just happened here? I was trying to light a cigarette. That's why you look at the video show so that you can see me do these things and get your cue. My lighter's giving out. Never mind. Anyways, my point being, like, people who've been listening to the show regularly, they sort of know that I've talked about this a lot. And now I think it's not just me. I'm not the crazy guy who's like screaming in his room about how things are not working well in India. I think everybody is slowly beginning to wake up across this because I'm seeing a lot of takes on Twitter last few months. People are beginning to be like, things are not going great, and it's a lot of that kind of reality check is sort of slowly creeping into the way people make sense of these things, the way people think about these things. A lot of that is beginning to take shape. I'm beginning to see like articles in like legacy media, all of these like outlook in like nothing too radical, nothing at the level at which I'm saying, but like people are beginning to say that guys, like our cities are becoming unlivable. Like there's no real change in terms of living standards, and things are falling apart. Everything is just becoming harder and harder instead of becoming easier and more affluent, which is the goal. Like if your whole idea is that like we started out this country, this project like 70, 80 years ago, 70, 75 years ago, and like everything was just like very stressed and very tight and we were poor, and the idea was that we will slowly go on this trajectory from like this very underdeveloped country to like slowly coming into our own. And if 21st century was supposed to be the century where India truly wakes up and lives up to her potential, well, one fourth of the century is gone. 25 years are gone, right? So, and we are actually like if 21st century, if like that's the trajectory, like these 100 years are India's 100 years, then by now like 25% of the project should have started taking forward. Not really a lot is taking shape. In fact, things are becoming harder, jobs are more difficult, incomes are not growing, tax is killing the people who are earning a fair amount of like organized salary. The unorganized sector is bleeding, has always been bleeding. Farmers are protesting, students are protesting, government jobs are shrinking, infrastructure is not catching up, roads are not like reaching. Like roads is one of the things that India has done well. BJP has done well, Gadkari in the last 10 years, but still they're nowhere near the kind of road system that a country like ours needs. Our railways is under the strain. All of this Vande Bharat nonsense is fooling nobody, is fooling nobody. Our air travel infrastructure is sort of collapsing. All our great airlines, which were supposed to have become mass, have not really become. In fact, the idea was in 2007 8. I've spoken about this before. Air travel will become like like bus travel. People will, all sorts of common man will travel in the airways, or airports will pop up across the country. Well, airports have been built, but air travel is nowhere close to being, accessible to so-called quote-unquote common man. Air travel is still an extremely elite form of travel, and whatever airlines we have are like sort of collapsing. There's so much strain on that infrastructure. SpiceJet is like, is about to go out of business. Go Air is maybe gone. Like all the airlines from 20 years ago, Kingfisher disappeared, Deccan disappeared, like Jet Airways disappeared, like Sahara disappeared. None of these airlines survive actually. Long term, like, this is not working. Air India had to sell itself to the Tatas because like they were making so much losses. Um, Air travel has really not worked. Railways are really not working well. There are so many accidents. Like I said, this whole Vande Bharat thing, whatever, like it's a gimmick. Like even BJP supporters know this. They might not admit it on social media. They'll defend it because, like I've said before, like this is their job. They're going to defend the leader, but like even they know that like this is really not making a difference. Okay, like all of this startup, make in India hustle. Mhm. नहीं काम कर रहा actually. It's not working. No longer are people looking at like Narayan Murthy as like somebody inspirational. People are laughing at him, including the right wing people who like this idea that like these billionaires who kind of were supposed to transform India into an industrial power, none of them have been able to deliver on what they actually said. And now like in 2024, 2025, they are complaining about like their workers being lazy when they don't actually pay them enough. Like in any civilized first world country, like like the work life balance, the amount of money that you get, uh nothing compared to that exists in India. Now someone will be like, no, actually in Japan, fuck it. Like who gives a shit? Like I know like there's some strange fetish in these urban elites about like East Asians. Strangely, it's very racist. Like can 2025 be the year, by the way, we start like talking about this racist fetish for like South Korean and Japanese culture that like elite English speaking Indians have suddenly developed? Like it's slightly racist. Saying this in a semi-joking way. Don't come for me. I'm just saying in a semi-joking way, but it is kind of racist. It is kind of fetishizing it. And like, if you say this, when people hyper theorize, they're like, no, actually, it is like very wholesome and compassionate. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, sure, like whatever helps you sleep at night. But my point is like, I wasn't talking about like that. I was just saying, okay, uh, the work life balance of like some of these first world countries is really not something that exists in like the culture here in India. And the billionaires who are like supposed to be, or I shouldn't call them billionaires, they're not all billionaires, millionaires, they don't really give a shit. The Ambanis don't give a shit about you. The Adanis don't give a shit about you. Narayan Murthy complains that you're not working very hard. Bhavish Agarwal, friend of the show, that fucking moron, he's complaining that people are not working very hard. He wants to be like some desi Elon Musk. Nothing's working. Danzo's shutting down. Did you know this? Danzo is apparently shutting down. Um, Oyo just declared that it'll stop allowing unmarried couples to kind of book hotel rooms under Oyo. Like like it's falling apart, guys. It's falling apart. Like the Oyo thing, I know like somebody will be like, oh, it's there only in Meerut. Like Meerut is one of those Meerut, Mathura. These are absolute Mufassil hellholes in North India. Like truly, when like the rest of India thinks of North Indian conservative, like this absolute claustrophobic pressure cooker of a small town, like it's Meerut probably would qualify very close to one of those towns. And like they're like Oreo may people book rooms, and like couples go in, right? What do you think those couples will do if Oyo goes off? Do you think they'll stop having sex? Do you think they'll stop hanging out? They'll just go to some friend's house. It'll just become harder. They'll become more vulnerable. Like if you go to somebody's house, somebody reports on you, people come, extortion happens. Who do you think gets exploited? Right? Like they'll take money from these couples, these girls will get blackmailed, all manners of things will happen. Like that's what a policy like this kind of like leads down the road. But like Oyo thinks like it's bad for their brand image, that people think of Oyo as a app through which young couples like book hotel rooms to make out and have sex. Well, I I have a like I'm not a branding expert for Oyo, though I can be. Please hire me. I'll do a good job. And here's what my advice would have been: own it, own it. You would get so much brand loyalty. Like you can become the Maggie. Like Maggie has nostalgia. Like people grow up eating Maggie, and Maggie is like your first Maggie, Naukri wali Maggie. Like you can be like that, college wala oyo hookup, college wala oyo hookup, and like workplace wala cheating on your like fiance wala oyo. Like you can become that brand. Why not? Like I know some of you will think like that's very shady and that's very unethical. But guys, we live in India. Okay, it's a country which is where the businesses are run by monsters. Ambani's just did a $600 million wedding in front of our eyes. Our military airport, our air force airport got converted into an international civilian airport for them. Like that's a country we live in. Can we stop with this idea of ethics? Like we have a country where like 27 or 30 suicides happened in our top IITs, and the education minister didn't have to resign, didn't even have to give a statement. Nobody in any of these institutions got fired or put under inquiry, or like in a very meaningful way. Like the newspapers also barely took note. Like that's a country we live in. I'm not even going to talk about the deaths of sanitation workers. I'm not even going to talk about conflict zones in Kashmir and Manipur. I'm not even going to talk about the crushing poverty, the Manrega like numbers. I'm not even going to talk about like any of the tens of thousands of these issues that I can just play, like the marginalization and othering of Muslims, the harassment of especially poor Muslims in small towns, in slums and shanties, quote unquote bulldozer Raj. I'm not even going to talk about any of those dysfunctionalities about like caste violence, caste rapes, caste barbarism that kind of goes on unchecked in large sections of this country, across the board, across states. I'm not going to talk about any of those things, right? Because like, where does one start? Where does one start, right? So we are not an ethical society, guys. Can 2025 be the year of reflection and reinvention, where we own it? Can we just come out and say like, yeah, we are bastards, like we are villains. We are gross fucking people, and we own it. Like, let's be some bad boys. Let's break bad. Let's Vanga Reddy this shit. Let's be the animal. Let's bring that out. Let's be the Kabir Singh Reddy, whatever. Like, let's. So can that be our defining idea as a nation? Here's the other thing. It almost seems like we want to do that. It almost seems like India wants to be that. And again, when I say India wants to be that, I will point you to the definition I kind of operationalized earlier in the episode, where I say what I mean when I say India. Like, it's not 1.4 billion people. It is this narrow, small, super urban, elite English speaking people. It's almost like they want to be this bad boy. They want it, right? They want it bad. Like, it is a 25-year-old fetish. Like, I remember in the early 2000s when Saurav Ganguly became like the captain of the Indian cricket team, and everybody was like, this is a new era. And like then Dhoni became a captain, like this is also new era. Then Virat Kohli became a captain, this is also new India, new era. Like how many new eras? And every era is defined by aggression. Like why is Saurav Ganguly special? Saurav Ganguly's cricket team special because they sledge back, bro. They don't take shit. Saurav Ganguly, jake like bared his hairy chest at the Lord's balcony, he twirled his shirt around, and like people are like, yeah, this is India. And like when young Virat Kohli used to be like, yes, like everybody was like, yeah, this is new India. We're dying for a fight. Like India has this energy, like this section of, again, I will say, when I say India, I mean this section of people. Like this section of people, they have that energy of a like spoiled privileged kid who has never been in a fight, who's never really been slapped around, who's never really like I've been slapped around a lot. I've been in these positions where you're confronted by people who are bigger than you, nastier than you, and you're going to get beaten up. You just know it. Like, अभी मार पड़ने वाली है, तुम्हारी कुटाई होगी, तुम्हारी गंदी कुटाई होगी. And in that moment, either तुम भीख मांग सकते हो, beg कर सकते हो, can you plead, or you can laugh, or you can be a badass, or you can go down swinging. Like you learn a lot about who you are in that moment, but a lot of people have never been in that moment. इनकी कभी कुटाई नहीं हुई है, but they carry that energy like they're ready for a fight. That's what this India is like, which is why they like this whole Saurav Ganguly, Sandeep Pangareddy, Virat Kohli esque kind of energy. So I'm saying, why not just embrace that? Why not say that we are this whole, creature. We are just bad. We are just evil. I just lost track of the. Oh yeah, now I remember where I was. Like I was talking about Oyo and all of that, right? So yeah, like why can't Oyo just do that? Oyo can also take that branding. Like yeah, we are the brand. Like sex करना है, book Oyo, bro. सीधी सी बात. Like take it, do it. Like like college wala hookup wala Oyo, just do it. But the Oyo CEO is like this. Banya, I think he's also an Agarwal. Maybe it's going for a IPO or something, and they're or maybe they have who gives a shit. Like these are all dumb brands, anyways. It's like they got into this aggregation model. They made an app, like they like predatory, just like tie up with all the people, become like a certified thing. Like that's what things like Oyo and Zomato do. Like they go into a town and they go to all the hotels and say like sign up with Oyo. Otherwise, people will think your hotel is shady because they can't find it on the app. So, like a lot of these places just like take up the Oyo or like Zomato or Swiggy or whatever, and they will like Zomato, Swiggy is the same thing with the restaurant business. Like, I will think that your restaurant is maybe not very legitimate because I can't find it on Swiggy. Also, you lose out on a lot of home delivery business, just like you lose out on hotel bookings if you're not on Oyo. The reason why Oyo brand is considered so cheap is because there is no quality control in the kind of hotels they tie up with. So if I go book a hotel through Oyo and I go there and I notice the bed sheets are unclean, which they usually are at Oyo hotels, and like the walls are dirty and it's not been painted over, and thing like the paint is chipping over, and all kinds of like shady service, like the waiters don't give a crap, like the room service is bad, everyone is rude to you. If I have that experience and if I escalate that on the app, like Oyo will not care. They do not give a shit. That's why people lose faith in the brand. It's not because young couples want to go hook up in it. What do you think happens in half of these five-star hotels? You think like at the Taj or at the ITC or at the Marriott or Hyatt, at any of these hotels, you think people are not having sex. You think unmarried couples are not going there, and like yeah, it's more expensive. They'll pay 10,000 rupees, 8,000 rupees for one night's stay, but like they are not sitting in there and uh, doing advanced calculus. They are not doing like yoga poses. They are like fucking. There's a lot of fucking going on in five-star hotels. Nobody calls them cheap. Why? Because they are classy about it. They're classy about it. They don't give a shit. You paid the money, your room, your privacy. They leave you alone. And when you're gone, they do up the room like you just went in there and did like a nice little, like, um, wholesome herbal tea gardening activity or whatever. Like if you walked in, when they redo the room, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. That's why these are five-star hotels. That's why these brands are what they are. It has nothing to do with whether people are hooking up inside or not. That's the one thing that this Bania Capital doesn't understand. They just want to improve the Oyo thing without, looking at why the brand is considered shady. But like, hey, who wants to do that? That's a theme of this episode and India. Like, are you getting what I'm saying? This idea, this absolute lack of capacity to do any sort of meaningful reflection is what I'm talking about. There is no sense of reflection, there is no sense of taking accountability. If my like business is working like Danzo, like this, like it goes back to what I was saying. Everything is collapsing. Ola scooters are not like people are not happy with Ola. Okay, Blinkit. Like I think Kunal Kamra, went at Blinkit this time. Like I'm beginning to sort of like this version of Kunal Kamra or this element of what he's doing, because he's actually talking back. One of the first major big guys, and I'm not a big guy, I have a small show, but like Kunal Kamra has a big reach. And if you notice, he's no longer making like these, oh, Modi bad, Amit Shah bad jokes. I'm sure he does that also, but he's basically going and saying, hey, Ola, like you talk such a big game, but you have all these tens of thousands of like, partners and drivers, and like people have bought your scooters and there's no service center. These are also Indians. You keep talking about, oh, I'm building Ola for India as a nation. Which India? This is what I mean. Like, excuse me, Bhavish Agarwal and all these elites, think India just means themselves. And Kamra is like, well, it's all of these other people also. When you say Blinkit or like, or Urban Clap or whatever, like Urban Company, whatever they want to call themselves, they're actually really not looking after large sections of their own stakeholders, people who work within their own companies, or people like Oyo, like they really don't give a shit about their, in many cases, their own hotel partners or the people who book these rooms from their own apps. And like, it's almost like you're penalizing the people who use your service. You're punishing them for using your own service. Flights like airlines like Indigo. God, I hate Indigo. I will never miss a chance to take a shit on Indigo. Like they treat you like garbage. They'll call you at the airport, they'll check you in and they'll make you sit. If the flight gets delayed, they don't give a fuck. They will never give you the information in advance because they don't want to risk uh, a flight getting delayed by 10 minutes on account of you taking 10 extra minutes. So it is more preferable to them that you come and you sit at the airport like 1 hour in advance. And if their flight gets delayed, they'll never be apologetic. They'll never be clear with their information. They're absolute, like ruthless in the idea. Like they've forgotten that customer service is a very important part of their brand and their business. Nobody cares about these nuances in this country. Like that's what I mean. This is not a good indication of a society which is growing, which is prospering. It is indications of a society which is straining, like wo fatne wala hai, like everything is just stretched. Like people don't have time for softness anymore. Like it's just gone. Every system is working at overcapacity. Like that's what it feels like. So it's just completely nothing is working. Culture is not working. Like cinema is flopping. Bollywood, like these are the few things that we did well. All of these Shah Rukh Khan films, Bollywood films, but Bollywood has lost its own connect. Like again, like the same thing. It's like Bollywood hates its own audience. Like Telugu films are doing really well pan India now because these films are not made by filmmakers who hate their audience. Like they don't want to be cool. Like Telugu, like God bless the Telugus. Like they're special. Like I like Telugus, in the sense like they're so clueless that they're almost clued in. Like it's that level of cluelessness is a form of wisdom in itself. Like I'm just joking. Like no offense to the great people of Telangana and Andhra, like Telugu people. But like whenever I talk to my Telugu friends, I tell them this, and like they laugh with me, and they're like, "Yeah, because we Telugus are like very insular and inward looking." Like Telugu filmmakers are not trying to be cool to white people in France. They want to be cool for their own Telugu people. Like they will do these things, they will do this over the top, like their own, which might appear cringe to somebody else. They don't give a shit. It's cool for them, so they will do it. But in doing so, they bring a sort of authenticity. Like these are films which are not made by filmmakers who hate their own audience, which is what Bollywood is, by the way. It is all these English speaking Khatri elites, Sindhi elites, Banya elites, and like second, third generation, super elite people who live and travel mostly in white countries, and their frames of references are that for the last 20 years, like Bollywood great romances are set abroad. Like Kal Ho Na Ho, New York, Love, Namaste, London, Hello, Paris, or Melbourne, or like basically Indian people stories in white countries. Like this is what I mean. Like your fantasy of becoming a developed country is so desperate that you've actually forgotten the part where you have to do the work to get there. So you just want to be there. right? So it just created last 20-25 years this whole energy of this like aggressive India which speaks back, fights back, and is almost sort of like in that white world, right? And even when they make films which are quote unquote based in India, it is based from this like sort of gaze of elites, like so Dabang, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, like Dabang. It's like how elites think what Badlands, like you're reimagining UP as like some wild, wild west. All of this, like Mirzapur, Shirzapur, in like Patal Lok. These are all attempts at like Patal Lok. Like that series is one of the only ones I kind of like amongst all of these. Like most are unwatchable. But like the trailer itself was so fascinating. It's set in Delhi, and this guy is like, in this city there is Swarglok, and then there is Patal Lok, jahan se keede aate. Patal Lok, matlab, basically saying the slum parts or the poor parts of the city are like Patal, where people don't live, where keede live, insects live. Like this idea itself is just so violent in the imagination, which is why, like, I haven't seen Payal Kapadia's movie, but like premise of it, the trailer of it, or like the commentary of it, or the promise of it, whatever I've seen or heard from people who watched it, seems so gentle in that sense because you're not treating it like an exotica, you're not treating it like a inherent violence, you're treating it at a very humane level, which if Payal's film does, great. If it doesn't, then I don't know what the hype is about. Like that's the other thing. Like I have stopped believing the hype of anything. Like people have lost their capacity to think originally, to make up their mind. Like every time like a film will come, like Lapata Ladies, like one opinion article will say it's bad, one opinion article will say it's good. Like you have to read a think piece before deciding what works and what doesn't work, what your opinion on a matter should be. Like everything is mediated by culture, like everything needs a review, everything needs a take, everything does not need that. I know I'm saying this on a podcast where I'm giving takes on things. Yes, I'm very aware of it. Thank you very much. I'm self reflexive. Like, I'm right. Okay, please just listen to me. But not everything else. Um, it's like everything, like, sometimes your take on something can be that I don't have a take. Everything doesn't need an immediate response. Some things can be looked at in a larger scale. Like culture has lost that capacity to say intelligent things or respond intelligently to its audience or understand its audience in an intelligent manner, because everything is let's do it now, let's do it immediately, and let's do it big, let's scale it up. Everything has to be mega million, everything, everyone just has this fantasy about being like a visionary or being in the middle of something. Just grow up, just grow up. Like everyone does not need to be a genius. Like this pressure in this society, like from top to bottom, this generation of Indians just like really need to grow up and accept mediocrity. I've said this before, mediocrity will set you free. Okay, please be mediocre. Please accept it. Not in a fun, ironic way. Haha, I'm so mediocre. No, no, no. Truly accept it. Truly, truly embrace it. I don't think most of you have the capacity to do that. Most of us don't. Because we say, Excel, I am mediocre, but in a way it's a nudge, nudge, blink, blink. Actually, I'm not. It's like a very, very, like, sort of a, like, you know that I'm smart, but I'm calling myself mediocre like that. No, just accept mediocrity. Not everyone has to be a genius. Everyone doesn't have to be visionary. Please grow up. You don't need depth in everything. Like that's one of the things which is just lost from culture. Like people have to theorize what they like. You can't just like something. So like that's what I mean. Like cinema is shit as a result. Television is shit, nothing is shit, and then people are surprised that oh, someone like Samay Raina is so big. Why will he not be big? He's he's just this irritating moron whose only currency is that he's authentic. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't want to fit in. He doesn't want to play by your rules. He does what he does. He says what he likes. And just doing that is um, such a unique thing in this era where nobody has the, like, nobody is doing that. Everybody is like, you know, coming from a place of like, oh, I'm deep. At least he's not saying he's deep. I don't know much about it. I'm not deep. I have always said this, like, I'm an academic. I'm an associate professor. I'm like also an associate dean in my school. I have written academic publications. I lead, like, I don't take myself seriously. People who are at my stage of career in academia, like, got the academic egos they have. Like, they will like talk and like, I've met people fresh out of PhDs who will, like, 1 or 2 year assistant professors will start talking like, they are like this great, like Foucault के बाद वही पैदा हुए हैं. Like, everybody has this great academic ego. I met journalists, young journalists, like one a few years in the job, like they'll have this great academic ego, like, or journalistic ego, like they're speaking truth to power. Similarly, artists have like this creative genius, like we are at the forefront of redefining. Everything is redefining cinema, redefining journalism, redefining academia, redefining law, redefining falana, redefining timkana. Like, what the fuck is going on? Can you just be mediocre? Can you just grow up? You're not a child. Like, this stupid energy of, like, it's like children who want the class teacher to say like, oh, this person is so good. Like, everything doesn't have to be like genius and visionary and like, you know I'm redefining thing. Like, people will hyper theorize why they like something. Like, nobody can, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm just beginning, like, these, I've been watching some shows on Hotstar. Hotstar is giving, I have one of those cheap subscription things where they give you ads, and every second ad is like some Hindi dubbed Korean show. And like my girlfriend is an alien, or like, some hello again, or something like, it's, they all look like Sony television set, Sony set TV, Star Plus TV shows that I used to see, except with like, better looking Korean people in it. Like, this girl, she's working, falls in love with her boss, and boss is a rich handsome billionaire, and she's a secretary. Like, these are the television shows. These are what Ekta Kapoor used to make. Maybe they have slightly better nuance. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch the show, so don't come at me like, no, actually, no. Please just relax. Okay, it's fine. Maybe they're better. Who cares? What I don't need is like, I don't need a 2 page essay or a rant, like, where you take this comment of mine and take it personally and start attacking me. Jesus, like, can you like something and just say that, well, it's kind of dumb and I like it? Like, I watch cricket. I've watched cricket since I was a little boy. Okay, I love cricket. But like, and it's kind of dumb. I'm not gonna theorize about it. Oh, actually, because of my Bahujan roots and this, like, who gives a shit? I watch it. It's nice. It's kind of dumb. When we do win cricket matches, I feel good. When we lose, I feel differently. When my favorite players do well, I feel good. When they don't do well, I don't feel very good. That's it. That's it. It's fine. I don't need like a deeper reason than this. I don't need a whole think piece, an essay on why my choices are so deep that I need to theorize about it. And if you call my choices dumb, then I need to, like, violently attack you uh, because I am so deep and my choices are meaningful. It's fine. My takes, my choices are dumb. I always say this, like, people, like, it's okay. It's fine. You can just accept that. Be mediocre. Grow the fuck up. Accept that you're part of a very mediocre generation, of a very mid country which is struggling terribly, terribly to put food on the table for a vast majority of its citizens. It's doing a bad job of creating even the bare minimum living standards for a vast majority of citizens. You're part of that country which even its elites the so-called people who've quote unquote done well, like who are in the top 1 or 2%. Like, by the way, I think I was reading somewhere, I forget now, where if you make like 1 lakh rupees per month, you're probably in the top 1% of this country or something like that, right? Like, even for the people who make like 1 lakh rupees per month, like you're most likely being living in a city or in a housing, or you have credit card debt, you have housing loan, you have car loans, your taxes are killing you. Like, even your life is terrible. Your kid is going to school. I think like this I read this funny news item like a few months ago here in Hyderabad only, apparently. Like, parents got really angry because this, excuse me, the school raised the fees of the children in like very lower standards. I don't remember the specifics. Um, but they were like, they raised the fees to 3.6 lakhs or something like that. But earlier the fees was 2.6 lakhs. So they were ready to pay 2.6, but they raised it to 3.6. That's why the parents got angry. And I was thinking like, God, I'm glad I don't have children, because children sound very expensive now. Because here's the other thing, like someone like me, I could grow up and I could go to like these small, like almost slum schools, and then like go to like a class 6, 7th and higher standards. My parents sent me, because I was in Calcutta, like they sent me to like a CBSE school. The fees was like, they were struggling to pay the fees, but the fees was payable. Like, you could afford it. If you were making some amount of money and some jugaad, some tightening around the corner, like fees is late, this, that. Like, I used to get frequently pulled up in school, okay, like, tumhari fees late hai and all that. They managed to put me through school. And that school was not bad, right? Now, the school which is good or quote unquote not bad, like, it's so expensive. And the kind of income that my parents would, like my father, not parents, my mother wasn't working, my father, like the income that my father had back when I was in school, that tier of income, the kind of schools that are currently here, they're like, the gap, the standard is so huge that it's not sustainable. So if you are making 1 lakh rupees a month, you have to, like, and if you have a kid, you would want to give the kid like a good start in life. So you have to put them in schools where the fees is in lakhs, right? Like, you're losing so much money. So even for that section of society, it's really not working out. So, like, can we accept that we are a country which is really struggling? Can we just quietly, let's pretend quietly we didn't like spend the last 20 years screaming that we are going to be the next superpower? Can we, because it's becoming absurd. Like, you keep saying like, oh, trillion economy, this economy, billion, trillion, trillion economy, and Chandrayaan is happening, and Mangalyaan is happening, and Dhanurayaan is happening, and like, bullet train is coming, and like, all of, you keep saying all of this, but literally every demonstrable aspect of social life is falling apart. So can we just like, let's not point fingers. Okay, you were right, you were wrong. Let's not do that. It's a New Year's, guys. Let's embrace it in good spirit. Let's be generous. Let's open our hearts out and quietly forget it, because that's what we are good at. That's what the society is good at, denial. Let's just deny we ever said that we were going to become a great superpower. Let's just quietly accept that we are absolute failures at having done a decent job with every single metric, every single measurable metric of every single goal that we set in the last 20 years. It has really not come together at all. So let's not blame each other. Let's not point fingers. Let's just quietly accept this new year. Let's quietly accept and like reflect, right? Or the other option is we go full Breaking Bad. Like, right now, like I did this like Patreon episode. It was a great episode. Like, all the people who heard it, like many people were like, I want to share this with like my friends, but I can't. Can you please make this one free? Like, every Patreon episode, I'll get this request, right? Can you please make this one free for everybody, because it's really good. Um, guys, I've learned from Bhavish Agarwal. Okay, like, if you make something very good, don't give it away for free. In Bhavish's case, he's not making something good, and he's definitely not giving it for free. But like in my case, like some people, some of you who pay money for it do like it, and like I can't give it for free. Here's the thing. No, I'm kidding. Like I may do it. Like I just don't get around to these things. But anyways, neither here nor there. What was I saying? Yeah, I did this episode about. Sorry, I was lighting a cigarette for those of you listening without the video. Like, I did this episode where I was talking about how Savarnas in the US are getting this racist backlash from white Make America Great Again right wingers and everything. And like, it's been very funny because like Twitter is full of this hate for Indian culture in America. Like they're making fun of the fact that, Indians worship all these strange looking gods because they've only seen Savarna culture, right? So they're like, oh, they worship all these gods. They discovered Gaumutra videos, they discovered Gobar videos, and they're going to town with all of that. They're like, look at these people. I think this is a perfect time for us to break back. This is a perfect time for us as a nation to be like, yes, we like let's hit the Gaumutra hard. Let's go full deep into it, right? Let's do that. Either you go that route. What's the other route? It's it's crazier, but like I'll respect it. Like that's the other way. Like fuck you, like we wanted white people validation, but actually, like now that you guys are shitting on us, we will take that shit and smear it over our face. Like that's also a bold move, okay? That's a bold move. So that's also a grown up move. I'll respect that. So I'm hoping that this is a year where like you either go full Breaking Bad and like you become the villain. You're gonna like, yes, we are the villains. We are the rat bastards. We are like absolute piggies. We either you do that or or due to the dignified thing where you quietly go into denial. Never, if somebody says, hey, didn't you guys, India, didn't you say this was your century, like elephant? No, 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 we never did. We never did. That's not what we meant, guys. That's not what we meant. Didn't you say this is new India bullet train? No, 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 no. You're mistaken. Gaslight them. Gaslight them when they tell you, like, oh, didn't you say India will become developed country 5 trillion? Like, say, no, we never said that. If they show out articles, say it's fake news. Like, do the dignified thing and lie. Lie, reject that fantasy, and quietly reflect and accept your role as a diminished, mediocre Asian country which is struggling to kind of like do justice to large sections of its own population, which can't even keep its elites, truly happy, which has failed in culture, which has failed to intelligently theorize about itself, has created a generation of, educated, articulate, English speaking babies who in their 30s and 35-year-olds are still trying to relive their 18-year-old culture. Please grow up, please just grow up, become uncle and aunties. It's fine, nobody will judge you. It's beautiful, it's liberating. You don't have to walk around dressed in hoodies and clothes with like message t-shirts saying something like clever. By the way, message t-shirts are dumb, they're really stupid. All of these sold store, you know, chumbak, itchy shit that you have collected in your life. Please, this new year, throw it out. It is not interesting. It is not cool. It is not funny. Like if I walk into an adult's house, a grown ass adult's house, and I see like some chumbak or like sold store, one of these dumb brands, like there'll be like a fridge magnet of an auto or something like that. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, that's it. Like there'll be a friend with like an ashtray shaped like a commode, like a toilet commode, and you look at it and you have like a 1 second laugh. Come on, That's it. That's it. That's what you are dumbing your personality down for. Just that. That's one chuckle. That's what this is. These are really dumb brands. Like they're not original, they're not kitschy. They are mining some form of stupid semiotic visual reference of nostalgia from the 90s. That art style, that cultural style itself is a decade old. It's boring. Everything is over. Can you please just move on? Can we stop trying to, like, Puneet Superstar, Ganji Chudel, like every little bit of counterculture which is sort of against the odds emerged. Like you immediately put on t-shirt like Puneet Superstar t-shirt, this, that. Enough. Okay, just grow up. Grow up. You're 35 years old. We don't need to hear from you what your, like, favorite movies of 2024 were. Please stop it. People used to do it in 2010 on Facebook. Nobody asked. Nobody is waiting for it. Nobody needs to know from you what your review of All We Imagine as Light is. Stop making that film like this liberal Tirth Yatra that you have to go and you have to do Matha Teko on it. It's a good film. Great. Watch it silently. Watch it with some stoicism, with some silence, some dignity. Be this year, be the strong, silent type. Can you do that? Can you do that? I think I'm gonna give a controversial take. We've shared too much of our feelings, okay? Like this whole decade has been about let's share, let's hear, let's empathize. I think we've shared enough. One of the things when you share a lot of feelings, you realize a lot of people have very stupid feelings to share. Like when you share a lot doesn't mean you're sharing intelligent things, doesn't mean that you're sharing meaningful things, doesn't mean that you're sharing things of profound value. You're sharing a lot of absolute gibberish also. And I think, please do it like our parent generation did. Keep it inside. Let's bring back some good old fashioned conservative repression. Denial, conservative repression, silence. Stop being a 35-year-old, 40-year-old teenager. Okay? Batman is no longer a personality archetype which is acceptable at the age of 40. Can we please move on? Can we please move on? Okay? Please. Is that so difficult? Thank you. Please. Just move on. Emily in Paris. Fleabag is not a personality archetype. Yes, it was a good show. You liked it. It was fun. Parts of it are relatable, like any good show. Move on. Friends, please stop watching it. Just put it away. Put it away for 5 years. Okay? If you're still alive, come back, watch it. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll grow as a person in the intervening 5 years and try to watch it again, and you'll be like, this doesn't make sense to me anymore. Okay, by the way, if you don't want to do any of these things, it's fine. If you want to be like, no, I want to keep watching Friends, how dare you? I want to keep watching Leela. Great. By all means, do that. Do that. I'm allowed to have a dumb opinion. Okay? I'm mediocre. I accept my mediocrity. I am the patron saint of mediocrity and I absolve you. Okay? It's a line from a Milos Forman movie, Amadeus. I am Salieri. I am the patron saint of mediocrity and I absolve you. I am the Devta. I'm the Avatar. I am the prophet of mediocrity, whatever you want to call it. Accept it. If you don't like what I say, it's dumb. Who gives a shit? It's completely fine. Right? So this new year, like I had to do, like I wanted to kind of do an episode which had like a year theme. I hope this is a year where, like, it's not business as usual, where it's no longer like, yeah, we are still going to be $1 trillion economy, culture is great, everything is great, cities are great, more Bombay versus Delhi, which city is better? let's do more get ready with me videos. Let's do more of the same popular culture. Let's do same, tech is coming up, which is a new great ramen restaurant. Let's do yet another comedy special by Veer Das, and let's like that's the other thing. Like, here's my Veer Das rant. Like can this be the year where we look at Veer Das and we ask ourselves, like, why have we tolerated this guy? Like, truly, this is my question. Truly, like, why have like he has the energy of this guy who's who wants to be like everything. Like, he will sing, he will do music, he will act, he will dance, he will like, but he's not very good looking. And I'm sorry, can this be the year where we bring back like the ability to talk about people like that? Because like truly good looking men, for instance, like a Brad Pitt, or now don't come at me like I don't find Brad Pitt good looking. All right, nobody cares. You're very interesting, okay? You're very deep. You don't find Brad Pitt or Ryan Gosling hot. Beautiful. Okay. जाओ प्लीज कोने में बैठ जाओ. You don't get extra cookie for this. Okay. कोई cookie नहीं मिलेगा. Nobody cares. But for the rest of us, Brad Pitt is just like a reference. Like, he spent his entire life trying to be like, okay, I'm not hot. Okay, I want to do roles which have meaningful. He wants to move away from it. He wants to move away from it. I think people don't look at Ryan Gosling as a serious actor. Many people don't, because he's just incredibly good looking. Guy from the TV show The Office, John Krasinski, I think. He's like, he just recently got named world sexiest actor. Whatever. Like, he became like everybody's like heartthrob from that TV series Office. He spent the next, like, it's like almost in his contract, every role he will take, he will have a beard. Like, he's trying to cover up that chocolate boy. He's directed movies. He's trying to do like theater. He's trying to do a lot of things. He's trying to reinvent himself as a tough guy action hero to move away from that. Like, the really good looking hot people, like, don't want that much attention. Veerdas is the opposite of it. It's like he's a mid-looking guy, but he wants to be in that zone. Like, he really, really, and I don't think it's working. Like, he's tried everything and he's average in everything. He's never really aced anything, right? He's just around. So can this be the year where we stop kind of indulging this guy? Can we please do that? Or if you're a Veerdas fan, please celebrate him. Veerdas, if you listen to this, fuck you. Okay? Go fuck yourself. Right? Please do. Please do. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I'm a nobody. I am the prophet of mediocrity. I'm the avatar of mediocrity. I recognize you. You are part of my cult. You're like me. You're my people. So don't pretend like you're not above this. Right? Yeah, anyways, so yeah, so we have that option. I hope this is the year where people grow up a little. We accept that as a country, as a society, we are sort of falling apart. Stop this nonsense of everything is fine. Fine and business as usual. Either we accept that we are like set for a diminished decade, a decade of underwhelming, diminished achievements, where every year things become harder and harder. Get ready for that. Jobs are going to become difficult. Standard of living is going to become more and more costly. Cities are going to become more and more unlivable. It's going to become very tough till there is a hard reset. It almost feels like that's what this is ramping up to. It's not gonna happen this year because things are bad, but things are not hard reset level bad, but they will get there in a few years. So maybe this is the year where some amount of that sobering up happens. Or we could do the other route, like I said, where we go out in like this sort of coked out frenzy, like this cocaine frenzy, like, yeah, we are bad, we don't give a shit, we are great, like we hit the Gaumutra hard. So either we do that, like, either of these routes would be interesting for me, except like let's just hope we don't spend this year, the business as usual, the Veerdas is good way. Like, enough of Veerdas. Let's either accept we are diminished, or let's become crazier. Let's become more unhinged as society. I welcome either of those two changes. Anyways, that's my R. I hope you kind of liked it. It's like New Year, whatever. Like, I'm going to do some changes with the show. I'm going to get a lot more guests on, because I there are a lot of important voices who are very perfect for exactly what I'm talking about, this growing dysfunctionality in Indian society, which has no editorial voice, by the way. Newspapers, online platforms, nobody is really looking at it. TV media will definitely not look at it. Our films are not reflecting it. Everywhere is they are still stuck in that 2010, 12, 13 mode where everything is going great. Where like maybe not 12, 13 because that was that UP era, but like that energy of like 2014, 15, 16. Like, oh, India is expanding, we are everywhere, Obama is coming. Like, all mainstream culture is just stuck there. Like, our newspapers are stuck there. They will do critical stories here and there, but they're not really looking at the big picture. They're not looking at dysfunctionality as a pathology of the society. Like, it's endemic, it's rooted, it's in the bones now, it's falling apart, the meat is coming off of it, right? They're not looking at it like that. Like, and I don't see many people, like I was saying, like I can see some tweets coming here and there, some articles coming here and there, but by and large, cinema, culture, discourse, academia, civil society, like, by and large, the dominant narrative within India and, like, the elite NRI community is that we are still in that, like, they know it's not as good and promising as it felt 10 years ago, but they don't yet have the vocabulary to call it dysfunctional yet. So I hope this is the year we get it. So I'm going to bring on the show a lot of very interesting voices who are saying more or less what I'm saying, but in interesting ways from other lenses. So that'll be what, like, I'll do in this show a lot more. I want to do more of the Patreon show. Please support it, right? I'm That's becoming like, I made this point on my Twitter stories or Insta stories recently, that earlier, 20 years ago, people used to pay for magazine subscriptions, but magazines in India are dead, except maybe a caravan here or there. Like, I don't see any good Indian magazines, right? And most of online magazines and platforms are in the business of giving takes. Lapata Ladies is a good film or is a bad film. Veerdas is new comedy special. Like that, that's where they are, right? I'm doing my podcast in a way, the Patreon special especially, where I'm responding to what's happening in culture, what's happening, in a more topical, meaningful way, like what is immediate and current and so on. So it's more like an editorial roundup of a lot of those things. So if you are interested in things like that, please consider subscribing. I'm going to do a lot more of that show. That show is more unhinged, more free. I can talk more directly there, because, like, in the live show, which is sorry, in the free show, which is on YouTube, you're open to a lot of, like, clips being taken out of context, circulated. So I'm always a little careful of what I'm saying on this show. But that one is it's an opt-in, it's a subscription based thing. So the people who come in, they generally understand where I'm coming from. So I speak with a lot more freedom there. So it might be worth checking it out. I hope you all had a good new year, and this is the second year of the show. I think I'll be completing the second year of the show. um, I've come this far. I've done, like, 43, 42 episodes of the live show, of the free show. I've done like some, like, 17, 16, 17 of the Patreon shows. There's a lot of content that I've put out there. Thank you for listening and tolerating me through this. I hope you have a good new year, with your family, with your loved ones. See, because that's the only meaningful thing. Like, happiness is not coming from a sharp take you have on your favorite TV show. Happiness is not writing a banger tweet. Happiness is being loved and loving people and being around people, finding a community. And I hope you have that. I hope you use the new year. Like, for most of my life, I was like, New Year resolutions are stupid. So I never made any. Because I've never made any, this year I decided to make one. I hope you use this opportunity to better yourself, have a good resolution. I've decided to kind of move on from alcohol. So like I'm going to be like I may still drink socially, but I'm kind of done with that because a lot of my personality had started centering around alcohol, which is very irritating. I started drinking late in my life. So like initially there was this whole, oh, this is so cool, alcohol is so cool. Now I have that feeling with drinking, like, okay, enough, ho gaya abhi, dekh liya, like I don't like the idea when somebody's entire personality becomes around something like Chelsea's, like potheads, like the whole thing is about smoking pot. Like it around me, I noticed all my friends or whoever, like all our stories is about meeting up and getting drunk, and I'm like, okay, that's a problem because I have more to say and do. So I'm kind of going to use this year to maybe get past it. Hopefully, um, get a become a better cultural commentator. Hopefully, the book comes out this year. I hope to do a lot more of my art. I want to write like my novel this year. Um, which is also a work in progress, will be the most likely it'll be the second book, or maybe I'll do a second non-fiction book first. I'll also be doing a second round of live shows. I'm working on that. I don't want to do a comedy hour, but it'll be mostly like kind of a funny storytelling kind of way. I want to bring more of my academic expertise and talk about historical sense in an entertaining way. I kind of do that in like some of my digital Nalanda videos, which I do for Nalanda Academy Varda. Great people, please support Nalanda Academy Varda if you can this coming year. It's an organization which I have learned very deeply from Anubai and the team. They could use all the love and support. They're doing great job. Hundreds of students have come to Nalanda. Marginalized students have come to Nalanda and have built incredible careers in universities. Many have gone abroad, will become scholars whose work will be built over the coming decade. So it's long term work. Support Nalanda if you can. Um, Watch my shows. Buy tickets to my live shows if I'm in your town. Do subscribe to the Patreon. Get healthy. Find love. Have a great year and accept mediocrity. Have a great year, guys. See you. Bye bye. Hey, you finished the whole episode. Well done. I can't believe you can tolerate my voice for so long. But in case you liked what you heard, you might consider also joining for the exclusive episode that I do for my paying subscribers, because that show gets into slightly edgier topics and I don't really want to put it out in the public domain. It's available on the Patreon as well as on YouTube through the join option. And in case you don't want to drop extra money, I completely understand. Please keep listening to my regular show. I'm grateful as ever. There's a buy me a coffee link in case you want to drop some love. Otherwise, just have a nice day. Stay being awesome. Bye bye.